Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Tuesday Day Early Comics Review Show. I'm Jason,
I'm Andy.
and we're with Infinity Flux Comics out of Chattanooga, Tennessee. Every Tuesday, after we're done bagging and boarding all the new comics, Andy and I will divide them up. We'll fight over which ones we're gonna. See, I did it above
I was
the
going to say, this
this
time
time.
people can see
We'll,
us
we'll,
fighting
we'll
over them.
fight over the comics that we want to read and other ones that we just think people want to know more about. We read them and then we do this review show. We call it a spoiler light review show because we tell you a lot more than what you learn than if you read the solicitation, but we try not to tell you all the surprises. We make sure that the fun of reading the comic is still there for you. So I'd say we have a pretty heavy week this week. We got a good bit of books to go over. Not as many number ones, though. A lot of continuations. But I think that the show has to begin with the biggest number one of the week. I'm guessing that's the one that you chose to do first, right?
Yes, I put it right in kind of the center.
Oh, yeah.
This is Gunslinger Spawn. So we had Spawn, we had King Spawn, now we have Gunslinger Spawn. This is the one I was the most excited about. I don't know, there's just something, I'm always a fan of like Western things. I love Jonah Hex. And it's just the idea, I mean, this Gunslinger Spawn has been around a long time now, but I love that he's getting kind of the spotlight in this. So this is, like with King Spawn, an oversized first issue that's got multiple stories in it. It's funny because we had Spawn Universe that gave us like a taste of all the different Spawns, and then King Spawn had a story about Spawn, story about Gunslinger Spawn. This one is just a main story about Gunslinger Spawn, and the follow-ons are about him as well. I don't know, it's weird. They're kind of running out of Spawns to tell backup stories about.
He does not want to share the limelight.
No, not at all. And of course, this is not Al Simmons. This is the Spawn host back from, I believe, the 1850s ish is around the time he was Spawn. But if you have been reading kind of the current Spawn and Spawn universe, he is now in our time, in current day, which makes a really kind of some funny things. He's got a motorcycle, but he's got the classic like, "This is my steed" and everything. Right. But it's fun. It's very
he's upgraded his horse.
Yeah. So King Spawn, when I read that, I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is dark." King Spawn is a very dark, grim book. This one, on the other hand, I felt like was a lot of fun. A little bit of the fish out of water with him being in the current day, him trying to figure out why his motorcycle isn't working anymore. So he goes and finds this kid named Tyler, who is kind of a punk working in a machine shop. And he's like, "Oh my gosh, that's the coolest motorcycle I've ever seen." And Gunslinger Spawn's like, "Then you're going to help me fix it." So Gunslinger Spawn learns a lot about what's currently going on through this kid kind of giving him well, this is what this does, and this is what's currently going on, and hey man, why are you talking so weird, and all of that. So that's really fun. This issue is not very story heavy. It's kind of just getting you into the character, how he talks, what seems to maybe be some of the supporting characters, but it also has a scene that cuts away where it's a meeting that we can assume in the Spawn universe they never really flat out say heaven and hell, but it's these two sides coming to meet and discuss a truce they're gonna be having, and the prize or the kind of payment for this truce is Gunslinger. So it's kind of setting us up on our larger story, but I won't give away a whole lot about what happens towards the end of it because some stuff really does start taking off, but there may be more to this Tyler kid's family than what even he knew about. So it's really fun. Brett Booth's art in it is, for a Spawn book, pretty light and, during sunny days and everything, not as kind of brooding. I really enjoyed this one. So the other stories in it are... I also have to mention, because I told Jason this...
I was hoping you were going to mention this.
You find out what is under Gunslinger's very tall hat. And it's just a delight. it's not he doesn't pull it up and it's a big old bushel of hair that immediately falls down, which would also have been great. But it was just kind of like when you read that part, you're gonna be like, okay, this is a little bit of the goofy zaniness that Spawn can go into sometimes. The other stories, there's a story set in 1853, and you see kind of Gunslinger Spawn as a bounty hunter, and him kind of what his tactics are and kind of his moral compass. Then we have a story where we learn about his weapons, which I thought was really interesting. I didn't really think about it, but he fights, angels and demons and everything, and he has ways of dealing with them that aren't normal. So he has to augment his weaponry to fight these creatures. And then lastly, there is a story I just wrote of Saloon Justice. So it is that classic. There's some ruffians going down in the saloon, and Gunslinger Spawn is sitting in the back, and he doesn't like how certain people are treating other people, and he has something to say about that. So it was a really fun issue. It's only $5.99. You get a lot of story for it. I'm really excited to see where this one goes. It's probably been my favorite since the Spawn Universe one shot. I just like the tone of it, and the art's really cool. There's even dinosaurs in it. You'll have to read it to see about that.
What?
But if you know Brett Booth is a big fan of drawing dinosaurs, and so they work that in an interesting way. But
like, if he can be from the West, why can't some of his enemies be from prehistoric times?
I'm excited too. I want stories from all the different timelines with him. I think that's a really cool thing that he can uniquely do.
Spawn universe is in full effect.
It really is. And we've got one more coming out, The Scorched, which I believe comes out in December, which is
right.
like the team book. It's going to have medieval Spawn and all of these in it. So some fantastic variant covers for this. Some surprising ones as well, you'll have to see. So first off, we have the Greg Capullo variant. Super nice. Got to get the classic artists in there.
Yep.
Then we have, I believe this is the Alexander cover. Everybody wants to draw him on horseback. We have the Revolver variant. It's fitting. The artist's name is Revolver. This one is really funny. I did not expect this one. I guess when I was placing the orders, it didn't click or whatever. But this variant cover is by Robert Kirkman, inked by Todd McFarlane. So I'm very interested to see what the pencils looked like before he inked it. Not saying Kirkman can't be a great artist, but I think he's self-proclaimed not a very good artist. So really cool, crazy angle. I love how he just went for it with that one.
I agree. Yeah, the perspective on that one. Yeah, Andy was like, has Kirkman ever done a cover? And I was like, I can't think of any either.
Officially drawn one. I've seen him doodle.
Probably something for Battle Pope way back in the day or something.
And then I did also want to mention that this week we have King Spawn #3 on the other side of the dark and light of the Spawn universe. This one definitely feels like the Spawn book when it was up into like the 200s, that tone. But this one's cool because we have been teased where he's gonna come face to face with Kincaid, who is probably like the worst Spawn villain or villain in anything. And they do come face to face, and you'll have to see what happens. But we do learn a little bit more about the title King Spawn. There is a crown in this. So I'm interested to see where they go with that and how they explain what is the whole deal with King Spawn.
Right, yeah.
We have a variant cover. This is the McFarlane variant, which is a very odd one with this little plushy Spawn. And then lastly, not Spawn, but kind of Spawn, a new book came out this week that we aren't going over, but had to show off this variant cover. This is for Hellcop. And this is the 1 in 10 Haberlin Van Dyke variant. And who's on there but the Hell Spawn himself, Spawn. I don't believe he actually appears in the book, but it's really cool that they got him on the cover, considering the topic of the book. And we are selling this for $20.
So, of course, we had to start off with all the Spawn stuff. I mean,
Whew, there's a lot of it.
The Shadow of Spawn is on top of all the other books this week. And, you know, we're really happy for Todd McFarlane and Image and all that. So, moving to something else, I read Nubia and the Amazons. This is the #1 of a 6-issue miniseries that just started, starring Nubia, but many others that I'm going to tell you about in just a moment. So this is a prelude to Trial of the Amazons, which is an upcoming event that's going to bring everybody in. Even Yara Flor is going to be in that event, so which is pretty cool. So I learned a lot about Nubia in this issue. In fact, I had trouble picking a favorite read this week, and I think this one takes it by a little bit because I like to learn things I didn't know. So she's a character I know somewhat about, but not a lot about. So I don't think that they're retconning this or anything. I'm pretty sure that this is how it was written originally. But Nubia came out of the Well of Souls. Now, how does someone come out of the Well of Souls? It's kind of explained in this. There's a lot more to it, but I just want to go over this. To me, this isn't a major spoiler. This is just sort of Wonder Woman history I didn't know. Maybe you don't either. So the way the Amazons were created, the way that they grow, because they're immortal. So if you're immortal, how do you grow when you're a tribe of all women?
Yeah.
Is they're basically women who have died violent deaths in the world of man, and they're resurrected through the Well of Souls. So they just climb out, but they don't have memory of their past life. So I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah.
And that's what happened with Nubia. So right as Diana was born, way back then, Nubia came out of the Well of Soul, and it was like a big deal. Like the well lit up like crazy, like this one's special. And after that, the well closed, and it has been sealed all this time. And I think this is why it's not brought up a lot in Wonder Woman, is because this hasn't happened in hundreds of years. Well, in this, and this happens right at the beginning, basically the well opens again, and you have 5 new Amazonians come out of it. In fact, so this is 5 new first appearances. They're all named. They all have dialogue. The story actually revolves around them as much as it does Nubia. So we always like to tell everybody about first appearances. I thought that was really interesting. Right away, they have to go through certain trials, but it isn't to prove worthiness. It's just sort of to get to know them, and so they get to know themselves because they can't remember their past lives.
Yeah.
So, you know, what if one was really good at archery? Well, they don't know that anymore. But if they take up a bow, maybe they'll find out that's what they're good at. So really cool. You get to see the trials that they go through. And each one is also given a gift. And I wonder if these gifts, because it's not shown this issue, I wonder if these gifts are more reflective of who they are or what they're going to be good at. So this one really pulled me in. I like the new characters. They weren't just thrown in. They were explored a bit. And they are treated in a way where you even get to hear conversations between them where they're like, are you sure we're not dead? And, how is it we can't remember our lives? If I try hard enough, surely I'm going to remember something. So I like that that eye on detail that the writing has in this. The art is really good too. Very cool, very clean and clear art. So towards the end, we get 2 full pages and then a 2-page spread in addition to the 2 full pages, where it is glimpses of a dream somebody's having. And I think this dream is going to be stuff from Trials of the Amazons. And it's a lot of major stuff. I always like that dream stuff, trying to pick apart what's going to happen, then later looking back on it. This was a lot. I mean, it was 2 pages and then spread after that. So quite a bit of that. So I thought this is prelude to Trial of the Amazons. I thought Nubia and the Amazons #1 was really, really good. And now you all know about the Well of Souls. And
I'm surprised because I was like, has that always been a thing? Like, I've read a lot of Wonder Woman, but that's a thing that I guess I didn't know, or if I knew, I'd forgotten. Or
I think it's something small that they're just sort of bringing back. Okay, so we have some variants here. Here is the Sozo Makai variant.
This book has some really strong variants.
Yes. And then we also have the Sway variant. And I'm going to clear something up that I finally got cleared up. I have seen this artist, Sway. He's a fairly new artist, fairly young artist, doing some awesome books, also called Swaby.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you put a B in before the Y. Well, in this, I looked, and his actual last name is Swaby, but Sway is in quotes, like that's his nickname,
Mm.
and that's sort of the name he goes by. So they are both accurate. I was wondering if there couldn't be that many typos in our invoices because
Yeah.
they go back and forth on the name. So
Awesome. Well, my next book might be my pick of the week, and I'm a little biased because of how much I love Fables, but this is number 2 for Batman versus Bigby, A Wolf in Gotham. And this is so cool. So when I was talking about issue number 1, I was kind of like, it's a Batman, but the universe is a little bit different. Like in the first one, when he called in the Robins, it was Dick Grayson, I think Jason Todd, and Stephanie Brown were all Robins. It wasn't like they had each taken up different mantles. This further kind of explains that this is not the Gotham you're used to. It feels familiar, but it's got some very distinct differences. So in the end of the last one, Batman had he was kind of investigating some murders that looked like they were large dog related, which when you have a book about a wolf, it makes sense. And he captured Bigby, who was kind of tracking Batman to see what he was doing. And Batman put Bigby in the Batcave with giant shackles and everything. Well, this one picks up very funny, where Bruce Wayne is sleeping. You don't get it too often where Bruce Wayne is actually like sleeping and Alfred has to wake him up. I would just imagine that if Alfred walked in the room, Batman was already there waiting for him or something. But no, he has to wake him up, and Alfred's basically like, "Hey, you need to come to the Batcave. Something went down." They go investigate the Batcave, and it's not a spoiler. This is like page 3. The Batcave is destroyed, and Bigby is missing. So, wanted to get to this part because this was the craziest part. Bruce Wayne or Batman goes to Dick Grayson, who is now running like a training course for Robins, potential Robins. And that's what the thing is, like, it's not tied in with the Fables part of it. This is just something Bill Willingham seemed like it's like, oh, in my version of Batman I want to write.
right.
There's this new little thing. So Dick Grayson is training all these people who I think he refers to them as they start out as eggs. Like they're called eggs and they have like jackets on that say egg on them. And then I think they get to chicks and then they get to be robins. And he's training them all and Batman's like, or one of them does really well and Dick Grayson's like, we need to keep an eye on this one. I want to give him like a promotion to the next level. And Batman's like, you should tell him I want to keep my mystique up of I only give harsh criticisms or something like that. It's really funny, but like such a new thing. Like I've never seen this. It's not like it's homaging some older thing or whatever. This is a whole new kind of way the Gotham universe works.
Robin Academy.
It is Robin Academy, and it's really cool. So it is one of those books. Like every page, I'm like, what am I going to see next? But Bigby has escaped, and he talked to Bruce Wayne or Batman, and because he's looking for a book that they talked about in the first issue. There's a book, we don't know any details about it, but it's very important and very dangerous. And all the places he's been looking, it's not there. But the place he thinks it'll probably be is at a library fundraiser run by Bruce Wayne. So it's really cool. I love the direction this book is going in. There's some great kind of one-upping each other between Bigby and Batman. Because he's got essentially in this universe superpowers. He's got super smell, everything. So he can smell Bruce Wayne, and he smelled Batman, and he goes, that's the same smell. Yeah. But through the entire thing, there's also a countdown. When you get to a page, it'll be like 3 hours before the incident, 10 minutes before the incident, mere moments before. and you'll have to read it to see what it is. But I think definitely like up there for my pick of the week, and it's crazy that it's like a kind of a weird crossover between Fables and Batman. But if you're a Batman fan, I definitely recommend picking this up because it's very cool Elseworld Batman lore related, but also the Fable stuff in it is really cool too. There's some more nods to classic Fable stuff in this one. And then we have the variant cover. This is by Brian Level. Looking pretty intense. But yeah, great book. Highly recommend this one.
So just some stuff because we both read Fables.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since I read it. So Bigby, he's a big bad wolf. He can huff and he can puff, and that's because his father was an air elemental.
Yeah, was like a Zephyr, whatever. Yeah.
So he has those sure he's a wolf, but he also has
he can even kind of puff up
Yeah.
and blow and everything. The explanation for what he can do and why he can do it is really cool. And there's a little hints of that. There's also little hints of some other fables that may also be in Gotham at the moment.
Oh, I knew William would just bring in Bigby if he's going to do a crossover.
Yeah.
Okay, so from Marvel, I read Phoenix Song Echo #1. So one thing I like to do on this show is we tell you some info that I would consider dry, except for the fact it's hard to find. So for instance, this is not a one-shot. I bet a lot of people don't know how many issues this is. Well, I'll tell you, it's a 5-issue miniseries. A lot of this stuff, I'm like, why is this not readily available?
Or why is it not on the cover or whatever?
Yeah. So this is a 5-issue miniseries. And I think this is a long time coming. Echo has had the Phoenix Force now for a while. I just think other events kind of got in the way of being able to explore that. And now they're able to explore it. And the first question is, why did the Phoenix Force choose Maya Lopez? It tested all these different heroes and some anti-heroes like Namor in Avengers, and it had them fight each other. And in fact, Maya Lopez in Avengers, she lost the battle to Namor. She did not actually win her battle, but the Phoenix Force still chose her. That is some of the mystery that surrounds this book. In addition, Maya is having trouble controlling the Phoenix Force. If there's a problem, the Phoenix Force's inclination is burn it to the ground.
Yeah.
And there's some of that in here. She does some nasty things that she's not proud of because she's having trouble controlling it. So she decides to go on a quest to figure out why her and how can she control this, because she's not throwing in the towel. She wants to keep the Force. She doesn't want to get rid of it. As she begins her quest, a few people take notice. One happens to be a particular X-Men character, who I will not say who, and I bet if people guessed, you wouldn't guess right. Well, this X-Men character tries to help her in a way that she does not like, and that whole situation is really interesting. It's not over in this issue. You can tell it's coming back. So for you X-Men fans out there, I'm glad with the Phoenix they're not like, oh, let's forget about X-Men. I mean, those two, that's like peanut butter and jelly.
Yeah.
But the person they chose is interesting. What this person does surprised me. That was one of my favorite parts of the book. The other part that's very noteworthy is somebody else notices, and this is a character who has a first appearance. It won't tell you anything to know this. The character's name is Riverwalk, all one word, Riverwalk. And he has a power that I've never quite heard of. So first appearance of a new character, new power. I've heard of characters with powers akin to it, but not this specific power he has. And he wants to help Maya Lopez. We're going to see how that goes, though. And once again, it seems he is not just in this issue. He's going to be sticking around. So that's generally what this all is about. It looks like Maya is not just going to learn the answers to why her and can she control it. It looks like we're going to learn some things about her past. Because let's bear in mind, she was adopted by Kingpin, who had killed her family. There's never been much on her heritage.
Yeah. And
it seems like there's a lot more to that they're going to go into.
It's interesting because I was talking to somebody yesterday about that. Her as a character, she's a Daredevil character who became an Avenger and got possessed by an X-Men thing.
Yeah.
Like she is like the epitome of the Marvel universe in a character, which is kind of cool. She
Yeah.
just needs spider powers, and we're done.
She also started out a villain
Hmm.
because Kingpin had her convinced that Matt Murdock was, or Daredevil was the one who
Hmm.
had brought about her family's death. So, I mean, yeah, her arc has been long, and now they're going to add even more to it. She's a character who is on the rise. So, we have this variant. This is the U variant. And then we have the Carnero variant, the Carnero Stormbreaker variant.
With some more of those Venom things we're getting in some of the variants.
Yep.
So my next one, sticking with X-Men related, is Trial of Magneto #3. Let me tell you, this book has, I mean, you see the title of it and you think you know what you're getting, but this is completely different. So I was really expecting out of this title that we're going to get, not necessarily a courtroom, but maybe like the Krakoa courtroom and Magneto on trial. Uh, it doesn't spoil anything to say I think Magneto's maybe on one page in this entire book. It's a very weird. I think going into it, such ideas about what it was going to be that it takes me a while to kind of sift through what is actually going on, because of course he was not convicted but accused of murdering Scarlet Witch at the Hellfire Gala at the end of it. And in the one of the previous issues, he admitted. He said, "Yep, I did it." Well, what happens if you read the last issue? You know that Scarlet Witch shows up, and she is not dead, or was she? That is a great way of saying this book is, I won't say confusing, but there are so many elements going on that at issue 3, I feel like we're right there where all the puzzle pieces are thrown in front of you, and you're saying, and they're like, okay, try to put them together, and we're working on that. But I think it's going to take another couple of issues to piece it together, because we get some crazy stuff in this. So Wanda has shown up. She does not have memories of who killed her or what happened. So much so that when her kids show up, Wiccan and Speed, she doesn't recognize them. So it's up to Jean Grey and Rachel to fill her in on, as they call it, her greatest hits. So she gets quickly reminded about the whole no more mutants thing and stuff. But at that moment, the island is attacked by kaiju. So you do get a really cool team up with the X-Men and the Avengers. And I won't say any more than the ending of this left me very puzzled to when does it take place, how, and I'm going to have to read the next issue to see. So all of those little notes that I said without giving away anything is kind of where my brain is with this one. It's a good issue, but man, is it very, like, I don't know, a lot of segments that we have to figure out how they all connect. So,
I was wondering if maybe, because I know what you mean. You know, I reviewed issue 2 when you were out of town,
yeah,
and I was like, yeah, I don't see any real trial happening. It was kind of starting in issue 1. Maybe it's more like trials in the test of Magneto.
yeah.
But from hearing what you're saying, it has more to do with like Scarlet Witch. So
It
far.
definitely has more to do with Scarlet Witch. It has more to do with her powers and what they mean. What does her kind of chaos mutant ability? What does that mean if she does die? The kind of like weird probabilities and everything going on with her might have something to do with why she's not dead. I don't know. I'm gonna definitely have to check out the next one to see. But that is my quick synopsis of that. We've got a few variants. Of course, we have a Peach Momoko with Magic. I don't recall Magic being in this issue. She may be in the background, but still nice to get a Momoko Magic. And then this one is the Vega variant, which I really like this one. I feel like that covers more indicative of like kind of what this book is about.
Okay, so I read Batman number 115. We are far into Fear State. We are headed to the last few issues of it. So, right on the cover, you can already see some of the things that this is about. Batman is working with Miracle Molly. That began last issue. She thinks that she knows something, and in this issue, she takes Batman somewhere to kind of show him what she thinks is going on. She thinks she knows Scarecrow's plan. But before that, we get some of Master Wise. Master Wise is the leader of the Unsanity Collective. He is the one who created the machine that erases their memories. So he's the one that brought Miracle Molly into it and used the machine on her. Well, we get to find out some of Master Wise's history and origin, and it turns out that he actually is an old minor Batman character.
Yeah, I saw reports on this. I didn't see who it was, but apparently
Yeah.
he's actually been around before.
He has. So, yep. Which I thought was interesting, and I think it all makes sense as far as the explanation on who he is. So, also in this issue, does Miracle Molly have her own Batcave? Could it be called the Miracle Room? You might have to check it out to see.
I would love if she didn't. You just completely threw a red herring in there.
On top of that, we learned pretty much the full extent of Scarecrow's plan in this. You know, his plan, we know it's to spread fear, it's the fear toxin, but then it's been getting bigger and bigger. By the end of this, I think I fully get exactly what his plan is and how he's going to carry it out in full. Meanwhile, Simon Saint is playing a deadly game when he decides, when he learns about Queen Ivy, and that Queen Ivy has all her tendrils all through Gotham. Now, this has been said several issues, ago. But if Queen Ivy wanted to, she could cave all of Gotham in. Mm-hmm. That's how much that her vines and roots have gone everywhere. So it looks like Simon Saint doesn't like that, and something might go down concerning that. There's a backup story where the Batgirls go after Anti-Oracle. We're still trying to figure out who exactly Anti-Oracle is. Some of you who've read pretty recent stuff probably know a name by now. I won't say it. And what I'll say is there's no reveal in this, but we do get a name, again, for anyone who missed it, and a pronoun. We get that much about the character in this. More on Anti-Oracle in my upcoming review later on. So, as far as variants, we have the Molina variant with Gardner and Queen Ivy. And then we have this 1 in 25 Dane variant that we are selling for $20. They're still doing the video game, classic video game homage variants.
Yeah, and the Batgirl backup story is done by the creative team that's going to be doing the new Batgirls series. It's the same artists and writers and everything. So if you want a taste of what that new series is going to be like, that's a good indication.
That is a good... I didn't know that. All right.
So my next one up is Ant number 1. So we, I guess a few months ago now, got Ant number 14.
Right. The capstone for the old series.
Yes.
Larson was just sort of doing, let's end it for the old creator. Yeah. Let it...
I can't remember if it was 12 or 14 or what it was. But this is a character created by, let's see, what's his name? Mario Gully, who actually created the character while he was in jail and saw an ant crawling around the window and actually wrote this character and was submitting scripts while he was in jail.
Man, Image, they were desperate back in
and apparently Eric Larson was one of the people who he contacted and he talked him through the scripts and everything. So Eric Larson had a kind of vested interest in this character, and then just, I guess, recently, the original creator sold the character to Eric Larson, who is now doing this new series. If you are familiar with Eric Larson and Savage Dragon, you're getting a lot of that in this. He's doing the art, he's doing the writing. The look of it is very Savage Dragon. But it follows a character named Hannah Washington. We first see her when she is a little girl and she's coloring, and her dad comes up and says, "Oh, what are you coloring?" And she's like, It's a superhero." It's like, "Well, why is her skin red?" And she's like, "Well, she's got this armor, this exoskeleton that keeps her safe." And he's like, "Oh, of course." Come to find out that her dad is a scientist who may be caught up into some seedy matters, working for some unnamed government thing, trying to create their own maybe super weapons or whatever. But when that goes south, um, this formula he has created, he gives to his daughter, and she becomes Ant, who he was inspired by the creation, her character when she was younger. Now she has kind of, when this happens, a little bit of amnesia. She can't quite put all the pieces together of like, how did I just get this power and what can I do? But she's learned kind of a little bit of her abilities. It's very Spider-Man esque. She can climb walls. She can kind of look like shoot some kind of something out that is pretty dangerous. I don't know if it's like I couldn't tell if it was a solid or a liquid,
Yeah.
but it was some kind of dangerous ability. But this issue is pretty much a origin issue, kind of a let's familiarize you with the Ant character in the world, and then it does have a backup essay by Eric Larson about the character, the history of it, how he got it, what his kind of ideas of the character are, and we get some like sketchbook pages in the end too, which are pretty cool. So this also is not as mature as Savage Dragon, or as Savage Dragon has become, which is a very mature title. But it's teen plus. It's right there on the border. I actually thought it was a lot of fun. I like Eric Larson's stuff. It does remind me a lot of his classic Spider-Man, his work on Aquaman, the early Savage Dragon days. So if you're a fan of that look, that kind of early image, new superhero, finding out their abilities, and this kind of the way the world is structured in this, you get some of the villains. I think people like that would like this. And I mean, Savage Dragon, I wouldn't say there's a great jumping on point anytime recently, but this is an Eric Larson thing that you can get right at the beginning. So that is Ant number 1. I don't have any of the variants here, but there's quite a few. But, yeah.
I like my superheroes where they have powers that are so new and mysterious I can't tell if they're a solid or a liquid. Gotta wait for issue number 2 on that one.
Well, she does something does something with her hand, I think, and it like pretty much like goes right through a guy. But it's hard to tell because it's kind of jaggedy. It's like, can you shoot out spikes, or is this like a plasma lava attack or something?
Right.
Couldn't quite tell, but I'm along for the ride.
Okay,
Next.
so next up, so I did Batman 115 earlier. Now I am going to do the Peacekeeper 01 one-shot for Batman Secret Files. So Peacekeeper 01, of course, his name is Sean Mahoney, and he used to be a guard at Arkham. This is all from a good while back now. And he was injured during A-Day, and Simon Saint augmented his body, made him stronger, tougher, made an exosuit, and now he's sort of his main guy. I think this is better to read before Batman 115, but if you do it in the reverse order, it's not going to matter a lot. They actually state that this takes place between Batman 112 and 113.
Oh, wow.
That is right after Scarecrow has injected Batman with the fear toxin, and in that same issue, I believe it's the end of 112, he gets the fear toxin in Sean Mahoney. So the toxin, you expect it's going to make you crazy, you're reliving past trauma, all that. Yes, it does all that. But Scarecrow also has a way where he's in your head, and he's seeing it, and he's talking to you, and he's messing with you. So there is a lot of that in this. But funny enough, the main story is Sean Mahoney's past, starting with his father. And, this is told in a day, it's sort of like he's a Irish immigrant. He's doing whatever he has to do to provide for his family. And what do you know? Some of it happens to end up being brutal crime
Hmm.
things that his son, Sean, has to witness. That colors his view of his father. In fact, I'd almost describe this as sort of like an Irish Sopranos episode,
Huh.
but done really well. This is not a rushed issue. There's a lot of dialogue, there's a lot of character development, discovery. I was pretty surprised how good this issue is. I think this issue is just as good as Batman 115. This was also written by James Tynion, so who seems to care about his characters, who
Hmm.
seems to want to set them up well, even if he is going to be leaving Batman a little while. So, um, let's see what else about this. Okay, so you also get to see in it how Sean, as he gets older, how he tries to go against his father, who, once again has turned into this I'll do anything for the
Hmm.
family, including brutal stuff. But the problem is his family's bad name keeps pulling him back down. And that may be some of why he ends up in Arkham Guard. Was that what he really wanted to be? Didn't he want to be something a little more
Mm.
upstanding? Well, when your family has a bad name, maybe Arkham Guard is all you end up getting to be. I'd also like to mention that from the pages of Arkham City Order of the World, Jocasta Joy, whose first appearance just happened, a few weeks ago in
Yep.
that, she's in this. And we were talking before about her first appearance, and I was mentioning to Andy, I think that DC's realized they need at least one doctor at Arkham who isn't secretly crazy or a
Yeah.
villain. I think Jocasta Joy is it. So it's really cool to see already she's in something else.
Hmm.
So she makes an appearance in this.
I think that's also there. We know they're leading up to. I think they're calling Arkham Tower, where they're moving Arkham to a new place,
Right.
and I think they're trying to put in characters that are like these are characters that we can use in that because I mean everyone who's in Arkham either turns into another supervillain or
Yeah.
or gets gassed by Joker or something. So
Yeah, compromise in some way. And I
yeah,
think you're right. I think we're gonna see more of Jocasta Joy. So I just wanted to let everybody know that was another thing I thought was important in this. But what this book all leads up to is what in Sean's past, and it's quite a past, allows Scarecrow to flip him, because it isn't just Scarecrow's like lying to you and you're crazy. Like he's using your past to change how you think, even while on the gas. So it's all done really, really well. It's a well written and fairly emotional issue, is how I would describe it. One of the better reads this week as well. So I had trouble picking out my favorite reads. A lot of ones I was like, I like that, I like that.
mhm.
I think Nubia stood out because of me learning
Yeah.
stuff. But this one, I was just shocked. I was like, wow, they're really making this one good. This is not a phoned in issue. So here we have the Tyler Kirkham variant. And then we have, for $20, we have the 1 in 25 Sarmento variant. Look how psychological that one is.
My next one is a number 2. This is Black Manta number 2 in his miniseries. I really like the issue 1 of this. I think this one, people are going to look back on it and want to pick up the trade and everything because it's a really interesting story, especially with Black Manta being in the first Aquaman movie. We've already seen pictures of him in the next Aquaman movie. He's a pretty complex character. So in the first one, there was this rock or this kind of ore discovered that something happened with it, and then a bunch of random people everywhere, specific people, had kind of aneurysms, and Black Manta was one of them. So he was going to try and like figure out what is up with this, and him and his new partner, Gallius the goat. I always forget her name. Um, they find out in this one that the the ore, the stone, is affecting people who have Atlantean blood in them.
Hmm.
Well, why did it affect Black Manta? Like he specifically does not like Atlanteans or Aquaman or anything of the sort, but it is affecting him somehow. So Gallius thinks that she knows someone who can help them figure out a little bit of Black Manta's past. Is this something that he really is? Does he have Atlantean blood in him? And maybe where this stone thing came from. Um, and they have to go to a swanky party for that. I won't give away who it is. I was actually really excited. It's a character I really like that you don't see too often. And I'll leave it at that. Just a quick review of this. I thought this was another great issue of Black Manta. I'm interested to see where it's heading because I think it's the next issue has a banner at the top that was revealed for something called like Rise of the Aquaman or something like that. There's an event coming up, and I feel like these are all leading towards that. That was kind of released this week at DC Fandom. So this one, Aquaman the Becoming, all of that I think is heading towards something, and it could have things to do, I think, with this metal that is found in here. There's also a really nice Sanford Green variant.
Okay, so I read Death of Doctor Strange #2. So in order for me to discuss this book in any way, shape, or form, I am going to have to reveal something from issue #1. So sorry about that. I'll try to reveal it as lightly as I can. What I'll say is, I think if anyone who read the first issue of Doctor Strange, Death of Doctor Strange #1, was sort of like, huh, okay, well, he's dead, but in a way, he's back. Okay, see, I'm not quite revealing it. What I will say is, because the end of it, I was like, oh, that's neat, but at the same time, the death of Doctor Strange, but yet he's kind of back right away. How does that jive out? What I can say is, I'm going to relieve your fears. He is not really, really back. He's still dead, just maybe not quite yet, and not quite the him that we knew.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I think it's being handled very cleverly, very interestingly. I really like. They get right back into it in this one.
It's very Doctor Strange.
There you go.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, but it isn't just something that's going to go away quickly. It is. It really. They put the gravity right back to he is dead, basically. Mm-hmm. So I'm glad for that because you need that gravity in a book called Death of Doctor Strange. So there are a lot of things attacking the Earth and getting footholds that Doctor Strange was holding off at bay. We get to learn what a lot of those are and where they're happening. But right away, we have 3 major new villains. They're called the Mothers, and they are scary.
Yeah, I've seen them on that cover. They're very horror movie inspired.
Yeah, one is called the Crown, one is the Crawling, and I can't remember the last one's name, but they are very creepy and very different one to the other. Well, they attack, and of course, Doctor Strange, where he died, it's not just him. I mean, the Avengers are there, a bunch of people are there, and let's just say they show their power right off the bat. They show that they are extremely, extremely powerful, and it was only Doctor Strange keeping them at bay. So, fairly important first appearance of some major new villains. In fact, so much happened in this issue revolving around them and everyone trying to wrap their head around the death of Doctor Strange that I will say there is no investigation into his death in this episode or in this issue. They do not have time. There is not one lick of it. I think starting next one they're going to get into, okay, now who did it? Because there's no who did it in this one. Still a very eventful issue. And we have this 1 in 25 variant that we're selling to our customers for $60.
Next up, we have the follow-up to a thing I for one didn't know that they were even going to do. From Hill House Comics, the imprint from DC, Joe Hill's horror imprint, we have the return of kind of one of the titles. Where originally we had Basket Full of Heads, now we have Refrigerator Full of Heads.
It's growing.
It's growing. Next is going to be like Industrial Cooler full of heads.
Skyscraper full of heads.
Oh gosh, that's horrifying. So this is not written by Joe Hill. This is not the original creative team on it, but it's still very much has the same feeling. So in the last series, um, it followed some people who got a hold of an axe. In desperate times, they swung the axe and chopped someone's head off, and the head kept on talking. Kind of a Norse axe. Turns out it was magical. Well, without giving away that story, I highly recommend it. That was a fantastic series. Very, I don't want to say funny, but had like a very quirky sense of humor along with the darkness. So it was a great little miniseries, like only 5 or 6 issues. Um, this picks up where we last saw the axe, or oh, let me back up. It starts with some robbers breaking into a home of someone who has Norse artifacts. And one of the artifacts they're looking for is a knife. And one of the burglars claims that this is the knife of Fenrir, the wolf. And if you barely stab somebody with it, their spirit, their kind of being will be trapped inside of their own body, and they'll be like a prisoner inside their own body, just like Fenrir was imprisoned inside of like the body of a wolf. So we get some ideas that maybe there's some more things other than the axe in this. We jump ahead in time, and there is the discovery of the axe from the first one, and a little hint to some of the heads from the previous one, what they've been up to. But we kind of have brought this the story back around to a new group. It's a little bit of a silver coin or whatever, where you have like this item and how when it's passed to people, how do they use it? What happens with it? Well, with this one, you'll see on the variant cover that not only human heads that this thing will keep alive when chopped off. So this was a really fun one. I was a little worried about it just because it wasn't the original creative teams. The first one was such a well-crafted little story, and all those fears were dashed when I read this one. A lot of fun. Same sort of kind of uh, uncomfortable, dark humor.
It happens at the same setting, right? Like the same.
It's the same
island.
little town, yeah, the same island that the first one took place in, but it's after it. But this variant cover, this is by Leomax, which was the artist of the first series. You get a little hint to what they're facing here. So a little kind of a summer Jaws horror in this. And after the last page, I'm very interested to see what happens with this one. So another great one. Glad the Hill House books are back. I loved their tone. I loved the horror. Really, really fun.
Okay, another great read this week is Nightwing number 85. So right away on the cover, you see Barbara Gordon in her new Batgirl outfit that was revealed at the end of last issue. She has just been staying home as Oracle this whole time. Why? Well, you know, she was shot in the spine and has recovered, mostly recovered. She shouldn't be out in the field doing stuff.
No, I think her doctor would not be happy with that.
Correct. So what could cause her to do this? I'll tell you what. This is a Fear State tie-in, and it is the anti-Oracle that has caused her to risk further injury. So she designed this suit where it is supposed to keep her back straight and good. You know, she's also got metal in her back, but she admits that it's all imperfect, and you know, she knows she shouldn't be doing this, but Anti-Oracle has taken over her system and is using it to spread fear and lies, and is tricking her friends to do things that are dangerous, put themselves in places that are booby trapped.
It's one of those, at this time it's personal.
Yeah,
like you're using my name now.
Exactly. So that is what this issue is about. Is her and Dick Grayson teaming up to try to find Anti-Oracle, to try to stop Anti-Oracle. There are some pretty interesting reveals in this. First off, we don't get the full reveal of Anti-Oracle, at least I don't think. What we do get is, we do get a name, and I mentioned before we get a name.
Yeah.
But we also get the reveal on more than the name. We get a reveal on more than the name. You'll just have to read to see. But we also get, so Anti-Oracle can use deep fake technology to look like anyone, which they do. They do some twisted things, you know, like it's like if your mom suddenly called you up through video and said a bunch of messed up things. Anti-Oracle does stuff like that to torment people, but there is one sort of physical way they look that's no one. So is it them? My bet is no. My bet is that's sort of their avatar
like
look.
a default.
Yeah, so you get to see Anti-Oracle's sort of default avatar look in this. But and it could be that when we find out who it is, that is how they look. I'm betting no, but either way, that's in here. Also, due to some fear toxin being released, we get to discover Dick Grayson's and Barbara Gordon's greatest fears, which is really cool. I think anyone who reads this will be like, "Oh, that's really cool to know," and a very good part of another exciting and eventful issue in Nightwing, Fear State tie-in, and so that is my review without spoiling too much.
Some great covers.
Yeah, so we have the Campbell variant. I mean, every issue of this is just, I could give you like at least 5 to 10 reasons to read it. And here is the 1 in 25 Redondo variant for $40. Redondo, of course, is the interior artist. I really like some of the things that he does that isn't just straight like drawing what you'd expect.
Yeah.
He does things that you couldn't do in movies and such. There's one part where he shows how Nightwing switches weapons and uses it to gas some people, and you'll just have to see it in this, but it's really neat. It's like almost a little cartoony but different. I like it. It works. I'm glad he doesn't overuse stuff, but it's real cool.
So my next one is the book that everyone's talking about, Superman, Son of Kal-El. This is issue number 4. We just talked about number 5 on our last Comics from the Future. That's a very big book and all the news and everything. But this is really about Jonathan Kent figuring out what kind of Superman he's going to be, what kind of person he's going to be. But also, a big part of his life is now being Superman now that his dad is gone. So the last one we picked up where Jonathan has taken his new friend Jay to meet Ma and Pa Kent for dinner. Well, as you can see on the cover, something goes pretty bad at this dinner. I won't give away too much about this issue because a lot of it is sitting around the dinner table and talking and the characters kind of meeting each other and everything. But there's something that happens, as you can see on the cover, and something about Jay is revealed that makes him more than just the plucky journalist, like how Lois Lane was. There's more to him than that, and I mean, it was a little bit of my theory. I don't know if he's completely doing things for the right reasons. Not to say that it won't go that way, but he's a character I think is going to be more complex than just bringing him in to be a potential love interest for Jonathan. So you'll have to read it to see. There's definitely a lot going on behind the scenes with some of these new supporting characters that have been brought into this book. So very interesting issue. A lot happens in it. I mean, we go everywhere in this one, and we see the whole Justice League. I mean, there's a lot that happens in this issue, but I think this book is still building up to what it's going to be. We're still getting some of the characters being fleshed out and learning things about them that wasn't originally shown. So pretty cool issue. I'm excited to see where it goes. We're still in the early stages of it, but I'm wondering, what's going to happen when Clark comes back. Are there going to be 2 Supermen? You'll have to read it to see, but very cool. issue of this, and there is a variant, but I believe we are already sold out of it. Everybody's wanting this series.
Yeah, everyone signed up once it made
Yeah.
the news. So I read United States of Captain America #5. This is the finale. This is the last issue of it. Each issue we have met one new Captain America, but not in the sense like Cap is. These are people who have taken up the mantles in their local hometowns. They've formed this thing called the Captain's Network, where they kind of deal with smaller problems that are more localized. So the new captain in this one, his name is Jeremy Merrick, and he is captain at his Air Force base. He's an Air Force officer in Colorado. So he, for certain reasons, they need his assistance with what's going on. But this is the finale, so I don't have a lot to say about it because almost all of it is spoilers. What I can say is it's all about the shield. Okay, since issue 1, the shield was stolen. We've been trying to figure out why. The full plan comes out, and I'll just say it's all about the shield. They have a very tricky psychological plan that the villains are trying to pull off. And of course, this all leads to a climax where all the captains show up. Okay, I'm talking all the ones that you met and all the other issues, plus a bunch of new ones, because the Captain's Network, I mean, it isn't just 5 Captain Americas that they meet. There's a lot of people all throughout the country who have taken up the mantle in their neighborhood. So you get to see all of them. Of course, big battles occur. Villains try to enact their final plans. You'll just have to read it, see how that goes. But in the end, we get some nice panels of a lot of the people in the Captain's Network. And I thought that was a really cool part. And some of these have not been in it at all. I mean, just numerous ones. I don't think this is the last time we're going to see the Captain's Network. I'll say that. Lastly, it was just cool seeing all the Caps work together. Bucky, particularly U.S. Agent. U.S. Agent makes me feel dirty, though. Like, he's a messed up guy. He really is. He has to get some information from somebody, and they're scared with what he did to get the information. So it's probably good he's not Captain America anymore, and probably never will be.
I can imagine the fight with all the Captain Americas, though, is a lot of like catching and ducking other people's shields as they just fly everywhere.
Yeah. Okay. So here is the design variant with Jeremy Merrick, the Captain America of his Air Force base in Colorado. So yeah, that's it for that series. I thought it was a pretty cool series.
Yeah, I was going to ask it.
Particularly all the Caps just working together and then picking them up, because at first it was just him and Falcon, which was really good, and then they kind of have to add in as they need.
Now, is there any hints about what's next for Captain America? We do know there's that Captain America and Iron Man series, but I'm not sure if that's current continuity or...
This just wraps up.
Okay.
Like I said, I think what it leaves is that now there's a Captain's Network that he can draw from. This also, I think, was Cap's way of showing he understands that our country is complicated and that he recognizes that and has grown with that. He's not at all shying from being Captain America. He loves it, but he has changed over the years, like our country has.
Yeah. So my next one is, talk about it really quick, Star Wars Adventures. I believe this is number 11. So I talked about this one on Comics from the Future. This one is interesting because it follows Rogue Squadron, which is the group of pilots that, I mean, very famous. They had their own Nintendo 64 game and GameCube game and everything, but it's the group that Luke is a member of. And this one is about them getting a new rookie member on their team. His name is, or her name is, Ibiti Mirak. And very interesting because we know that one of the movies that is being worked on by Patty Jenkins is the Rogue Squadron movie. So this one actually has Luke in it, of course, but also other members of Rogue Squadron named. Of course, Wedge Antilles is a member of Rogue Squadron, but not a lot of people know the other ones. And we haven't really got a definitive like these are the people who are part of it currently. Not for a while, I don't think. They've done some other squadrons, but I just think this one is interesting to look out for. I think we're going to be seeing a lot of Rogue Squadron related things coming up soon, but just an idea, new hot-headed member of the team who maybe thinks everybody else does things a little too slow, a little too methodical for their liking, and she's kind of taken some chances to show them how good she is at piloting. And I just think, interesting character to maybe keep an eye out for. Never know where they're gonna show up again. So that is.
And if you don't know the character, that's a first appearance.
Yeah, it is for sure a first appearance.
Now I gotta grab one. I grab all the Star Wars first appearances.
Yeah, I mean, and Star Wars is full of a ton of first appearances because, I mean, it's a whole galaxy of characters. But Rogue Squadron is a thing that is very, to Star Wars fans and to the mythology of it, a very important group that you don't just play with willy-nilly. It's important. So yeah, that is number 11. Also, this great Francavilla cover.
Okay, so I read the first issue of Catwoman Lonely City. This is Cliff Chiang's work. He is doing the writing, he's doing all the art, he did the covers as well. I always think it's really cool when they do stuff like this. This is going to be a 4-issue series. This is DC Black Label, and as you can tell, it is magazine size. So you get to see the big, beautiful art. Like that, yeah.
It doesn't fit.
It's crowding with the other ones. So in this is more of a what-if story because it's set in the future. This is not canon. And so Catwoman, she's now 55 years old. She's just gotten out of prison after a 10-year sentence. Now, why does she go to prison? You'll have to read. If you know Catwoman, you know.
I was about to say there's plenty of reasons.
It's because she decided to go, not because she couldn't get out. But this has followed some really terrible things that have happened. Something's happened that has killed a lot of the heroes of Gotham. And when she gets out, she's about the only person left. In addition, Harvey Dent, as Two-Face, is the mayor. Okay, but he's not crazy anymore, so he claims. And it seems that the person who's trying to run against him is Barbara Gordon. So, pretty interesting setup and setting as far as her getting out of prison. Because what does she need? Well, for one, she needs some money to live on. So, how's she going to get it? Well, what's Catwoman good at?
Mm-hmm.
Burglary. That's what she's good at. So I don't know if she's been reformed by prison any. It also turns out that all her cats are gone except for one. And if you want to know which cat stayed around, you'll have to pick it up and read it. There's only one loyal cat that stuck around for 10 years.
I mean, that's a long time.
It must have been a kitten or something. So this is a cool setup issue because it isn't just about, okay, well, 10 years of prison, now what does she do? There's more to it than that. There's a dying wish that she wants to fulfill that may relay information that matters to what happened to 10 years ago and might even matter today. Lastly, she may have to team up with an old Batman villain who is now aging, and it's very funny. It's funny to see villains that were very vibrant and very tough and toe-to-toe with Batman, but now they're aging too. So that's also a thing in it. So I quite enjoyed it. Real good read. Very strong first issue. And then we have the variant, which is also done by Cliff Chiang. He just did it all.
That is a lot of work for one person.
Yeah. There's a Penguin appearance too. He's no longer in Gotham, though. You'll have to see what happened, what Penguin's up to these days.
He went to a retirement igloo somewhere. So my last few are just ones I want to show off because they're just so cool. Of course, I wanted to review this one, but this is the final issue. I didn't want to give anything away, but I had to show off the cover. This is the Art Adams variant for Masters of the Universe. This was a piece he did. I don't think it was originally intended for this cover, but I'm so glad that they used it. It is fantastic with so many characters on it. Yeah, this wraps up our story now that we know the release date of part 2 of the Kevin Smith series, and this says that the story continues in it. So I'll be very interested to see what little things they pull out from this. But there's a last page, we'll say silhouette that you see that I'm very interested to see what comes of it. But yep, great cover. Definitely look for that one.
All right, so I read Thor number 18, and the cover reveals much of what this is about, which I have to say, this is one of the more fun Thor reads in a while. The last few issues have been a lot of family drama, a lot of Thor depressed, Hammer's not working, etc. This gets back to being sort of a promise, something fun is coming up. So last issue, it was revealed that Thor's hammer, which was being held by the Avengers because it wasn't working very well for him, and he was afraid of who might get it because people were able just to pick it up willy-nilly. The hammer had been stolen. That was the climax last issue. If you haven't read it last issue, sorry. I can't talk about this one without revealing that. So in this, Thor goes to one of the last people he would ever want to ask a favor to try to get some help. Well, he doesn't quite get the help, but the person puts him on to an idea of who might be able to help him. This character, which might be obvious, this character may need a team to help, and that team might put together a fan favorite pet team we have not seen in a long time. Maybe even a new version.
The X-Pets? No.
Let's just say I'm eager to read the next one. I'm really happy that the Thor run is turning this way. This is unexpected. So that's as much as I will say. Here is the 1 in 25 Klein variant for $35.
Throg needs his own series. He's too fun of a character. So my next one I want to show off is... Grabbing the right one. This is the variant. No, not for Harley Quinn. This is for Catwoman number 36. But check out this amazing Frison cover. I mean, it's hard to capture it here, but I mean, this Harley has some crazy eyes. One of the nicest. I mean, Frison always does amazing work, but this one really stood out.
It's great.
It's hard to capture on camera of how vibrant it is and just all the little subtle details and everything, but I think this is definitely one of the best covers.
Harley's sort of beautiful madness.
Yeah.
Really just
this is going to be one people are really going to be going after.
Okay, so I read Flash issue 775. I've really been enjoying this a lot. So this does something that's been a long time coming. There's been a sword flying through space that they've given like a page to for the last like 5 issues. Well, it's not quite a sword. It's a glaive. A glaive is a polearm, sort of a European polearm. So sort of a long staff with a blade on the end. It lands in the ground finally. And in this issue, they explore what happens with that. Well, let's just say first off that even the strongest of superheroes are not able to pull this thing out of the ground. It also seems to be making everybody who gets near it irritable, very irritable and angry, and it seems like it's getting worse and worse and worse and worse. More than that, a ton of villains show up in this issue, like a ton of Flash villains. I mean, a lot of Flash villains all show up in this issue. And Wally gets to show why he's such a good Flash. He's a very creative Flash because he fights these villains. And a lot of good scenes with him fighting these villains, who obviously many are after this glaive. By the end of the issue, you will learn who is behind this weapon. And it is a major DC villain that we haven't seen in a long time. We're talking like event style villain that we haven't seen in a long time. And he's back, and this issue is just the beginning of that. So here is the variant by Corona.
So my next one is something I want to show off. This is Harley Quinn, the animated series, the Eat, Bang, Kill Tour, #1 second printing. This sold out for us pretty much the day it hit the
We got a
shelves.
lot of it too.
We got a lot of it, and this has been like one of the most talked about series. People loving this version of Harley. I read issue 2. Issue 2 is fantastic, but if you missed out on the number 1, you have this awesome cover for number 1. Just the second printing. Even if you got the first one, I love they're doing the different covers. Collect them all.
So Halloween's almost here, and with the paper shortages and the printing delays, a lot of Halloween issues are going to arrive after Halloween. Well, luckily I got one here that has arrived on time. This is Legends of the Dark Knight number 6. This is a Halloween themed issue because it has 2 stories. They're not set at Halloween, but they're both like sort of horrific things happening in them. The first story has to do with Batman. He needs to save Solomon Grundy from his own inner demons before Solomon Grundy continues killing people. The second story is Batman has to team up with Killer Croc because somebody has flooded Gotham, and they have to discover who did it, why, and try to stop them. So if you're just looking for 2 good Batman stories to read on or near Halloween, there's your book. Because a lot of other good Halloween books, but you had delays. A lot
Yeah,
coming
we've
out
seen
like
a lot of them.
November 4th.
Yeah.
So we have this variant. Here is the Clunan variant.
Very dark.
Yep.
Cool. And my last thing I'm going to show off is the next in the series of Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips' series, the Reckless series, Destroy All Monsters. So this, of course, is another hardcover. These have been very popular. It's crazy. This is like the first big thing that has been like an ongoing series other than Criminal that Brubaker has been doing. And it is $24.99. So if you've been enjoying the Reckless books, you'll definitely want to pick this one up.
And the last thing I'm going to show off, so we showed this off the other week. So the Nocterra trade paperback is out. It is the first 6 issues by Scott Snyder and Tony S. Daniel. Awesome story, great art. It's already been optioned. The whole, it's like everything you would want in a comic. Something very fast-paced. But they released it with their signature on what they call a book plate. So what a book plate is, it's basically a sticker where they've signed it. They've literally signed this. This is not a printing. And you put it anywhere you want, on the book, in the book, whatever. And what's good about it is for them to have to print this, send them all to them, you know, all these pallets, and have them sign it, it would take forever. So instead, they sign this little thing, and then they send it both to us retailers. This time, the book plate arrived a week late. So here is your chance. If you've already bought one from us, come by. You can have one. But you might want to look in your store, maybe your store. You had to order enough to get it. We have them. In addition, this is all 6 issues of the first trade, and it's only $10. So $10 for the first trade of Nocterra and the signatures of Scott Snyder and Tony S. Daniel. You could put anywhere in the book. Very good deal, if you ask me.
Very, very good deal.
Yeah. So that is it. That is our show for today.
You try to get that close to Scott Snyder and get a signature. He's hard to track down.
Yeah, or do it through CGC when it's like $80 or something. But that is our show for today. We hope we have done our jobs and told you a little bit more about each of these books so that you are armed with the information to go to your comic store tomorrow and know exactly which ones you want, know what they're about, know what's important in each one. That is what we're here to do.
Yeah, tell people you're psychic, and you can be like, I bet I know what that book's about, and you give them the description. Freak them out.
Yeah, point to the Nubia book, be like, there are 5 first appearances in that book, and each of the characters have names and lines.
And they're like, you haven't even
Just
touched
saying.
it. You're like, that's just how good I am.
All right, so thank you all very much. We'll be back on Friday with Comics from the Future. We will see you then.